together. But you know, at the end of the day, our efforts, you know, if you look up in the sky at night and see the moon shining, well, that's shining with borrowed light. And you know, so it kind of is with the board. The real stars are the people that are doing the work every day, the teachers and the administration and the staff, and you know, whatever we can accomplish is just a reflection of them. So again, thank you all, and move on to our superintendent.
Can I just add something quick before we move on? You know, I just want to thank you, Bill. I know I came on the board, and you encouraged me a lot. And I don't, from everything that I've heard by going to other meetings and meeting board members from other districts, um, I have to say I was confused about what they were talking about when it talked about how their districts operated, because for me, seeing how this district operated, um, and after hearing stories, you know, it was like, wow, you know, and that's a reflection of, I think, your leadership and the entire board, how we were able to work together as a team, to accomplish so much, to what Teresa said, in leading the district forward. So I want to thank you for encouraging me personally to participate in this. Thank you.
Thanks, and you're very welcome. Glad you're here. All right, Teresa.
Yes, we have a report too. Um, I'm going to start with our semi-annual EVVRS and HIB report. So David Rubin and Colleen Pongratz will be presenting this evening.
Thank you and good evening. This is our semi-annual report, which is divided up between the HIB report and the report that Ms. Pongratz will give you shortly. We do this twice a year. You have before you a written report which speaks for itself. Let me just summarize it very briefly. And let me do it this way because I know we're interested in trends. This covers the 6-month period from January 1st to June 30th of this year. The same period in 2016, we had 58 allegations of HIB and 14 substantiated findings. Each time I appear before you, it sounds like a broken record. I indicate that our numbers continue to trend downward, and so that trend continues during this period. We went from 58 allegations and 14 substantiated findings a year ago in the same period to 42 investigations this time and 11 substantiated findings. It continues to trend downward. What I find significant for me is of those 11 substantiated findings, only 4 of them, the distinguishing characteristic, happened to be one of the legally protected classifications such as race or gender, and the other 7, it was just some other unspecified, not legally protected category, but just something about a particular child, which means that for this entire 6-month period, there were only 4 instances in which HIB was substantiated involving a child's membership in some protected group. There are numbers in here. They break out, for your information. I'm prepared to answer any questions. We continue to provide age-appropriate activities throughout each of our schools for students to improve school climate. You should be aware, I did get a lot of publicity, but the State Board of Education a month or so ago adopted a series of changes to the HIB regulations that are going to take effect in July that cover a host of issues, including given the opportunity for school districts to grant principals more discretion if boards choose to study complaints at the outset to see whether they meet the definition of HIB or not. They felt it appropriate to change the actual name of our school safety committees now to the school safety/school climate committees, just to emphasize that it's really about school climate we're trying to emphasize. And they've introduced a number of other improvements. They've actually tried to introduce some plain language into the definition of HIB so that normal human beings can actually understand what it means. If you look at the definition of HIB in our board policy, which is lifted right out of the statute, it goes on for paragraphs and paragraphs. It's a very clunky, multi-faceted, legalistic definition that even we lawyers have difficulty understanding. They're now going to introduce terms like imbalance of power, aggression, things that folks in the community can actually understand when we try to explain what HIB is. So with that, you have a report that is self-explanatory. Our trends numbers continue to go down to the point where just this past month, as the board knows from our discussion in private session this evening, we're down to a point where this past month, and again, as I said in closed session, past performance is no guarantee of future statistics, but we had 0 substantiated findings of HIB this past month. That's good news. and I think that our folks have their act together. So with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Rubin?
If not, I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Pongratz for
Oh,
her.
I'm sorry, Dr. Nazir, you had a question?
Yes.
I have one question. This is, I'm looking on the report, page number 2. Eisenhower School is number 17. That is alarming number. What is going on over there?
Well, you'll notice also, if you look at the next page, that of those 17, there were only 2 of those investigations that resulted in HIB being substantiated. We have determined that there might have been some fine-tuning of the definition of HIB there to make sure that the claims of HIB actually match up with HIB being found. I think we have succeeded in doing that. So you are correct that there were a lot of allegations there, but only 2 of those 17 were found to be substantiated. Thank you all, and I turn the floor over to Ms. Pongratz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rubin.
Thank you. Hello. I'm here to present the EVBRS report from January to June of 2017. Thank you, Dr. O'Malley. As you can see, there was an increase of 7 incidences this section as compared to the previous year. That area of increase you'll see is in the violence area. There was a decrease in our substance abuse area, and we attribute that to a lot of the positive behavioral supports that are put into place in all the schools and some of the programming going on there. I just want you to note that some of the increases for the violence category this particular time frame were due to one incident. There were 6 students involved in an incident that occurred outside of school. So of the remaining 12, we do see an increase of some offenses coming out of social media, and the high school and the middle school are working very diligently to work to correct that and give appropriate supports for their schools. And that concludes my report.
Questions for Ms. Pongratz? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The same thing over here, I'm looking for.
I'm sorry,
the 2 weapons.
No problem.
One in the high school, one in Eisenhower School.
I'm sorry, which one are you looking at?
Weapons.
Oh,
Incidents over here, one in high school, one in Eisenhower School.
mhm.
And if I look on that HIB report, same thing, is something we had to do over there, or what is
Can we speak specifically to the events?
more?
You could, I mean, the
Enforcement
incident,
or
for example,
repression or
of
preventive?
weapons, I mean, do you have that back up with you? I mean,
The incident in the elementary school will be a possession of a weapon, not use of a weapon, but they have to report it that way.
but the definition of weapon is also a pretty wide range.
It's a broad category.
So if a student brings a BB gun or a pocket knife or any of, a hammer, I mean.
Anything that can hurt
that
anyone.
Could
Oh, okay.
be used as a weapon, it comes under that definition and must be reported.
The New Jersey Supreme Court has held that a coffee cup can be a weapon under certain circumstances, so it depends on how it's used.
I think your concern is well placed. I mean, it's important to note that one data point does not a trend make. So certainly, this is something that we'll be keeping an eye on in future reports. I don't think at this time, one data point is really suggestive of a particular problem, but we should keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't become a repetitive occurrence. Thank you, Mrs. Palmer.
Thank you.
There are just a couple of other items that I did want to bring to the board's attention, a couple of things to celebrate at this time of the year. One of our high school seniors, I just learned today, Komet Robinson, has been accepted at Princeton University on early decision. Yeah, he is one of our 50-strong young men at the high school, has outstanding grades, but has also been a very prominent member of the cross-country and the track team. And all of those influences came together, and so we're celebrating his acceptance today. I also wanted to make the board and our viewers aware of the fact that Piscataway High School was named to the Advanced Placement Honor Roll by the College Board, and that is specifically for our increase in the percentage of underrepresented students who are enrolled in AP courses, taking the AP exams, and getting 3s or higher. So that credit belongs not only to the high school, but certainly to the intermediate and middle schools who have been really focusing on some of these, on the efforts to get more students into higher level courses. Unfortunately, Judy Palermo left for the evening, but she very diligently completed the district's application for the high school to be a National School of Character. This application is probably more time-consuming than a blue ribbon application. It was not only a 12-page narrative, but it was backed up with about 30 pages of data. She conducted numerous interviews with students, parents, staff, teachers, because obviously there couldn't be one person there that had the time to do it, so she did it. And I just want to thank her for her efforts, and hopefully we will get that recognition for our school district. Dr. Ranelli has been, tomorrow morning will be the third of the middle school assemblies promoting the new academies that will be at the high school. Tomorrow, if anybody is interested in hearing the presentation, it's at 8:30 at Kanakamak. And the academies, are curriculum paths for students that want to follow certain career tracks. I attended one of these, and I was very impressed with very intelligent questions that 8th graders were asking about the academies. And the one you had this morning, which was at Shore, definitely there were students who had been thinking about attending the career academies in the county who were very interested in the programs that we were going to be offering. So I look forward to coming back to you with information about positive enrollments. The Day of Coding, as you know, was held last Saturday, and despite the weather, I know, Chantel, you and your family came, and I know you were also, Mr. Stern, were at the planetarium, but the coding activities, there were robots, there were maker activities, and I think it was really a full day for those who attended, and very productive. The students all had very good remarks. And finally, I did want to draw your attention, each of you has a copy of the superintendent's report for this month, and I want to emphasize in particular, we talk about having partnerships with businesses and other community service activities that our students could get into. But I wanted you to realize, for example, that the Junior Achievement Program and FBLA volunteers were all at King School recently, teaching young people how to explore opportunities for entrepreneurship. We had Johnson & Johnson bringing STEM workshops to all of our third graders. United Way came and supported literacy development at Grandview. In addition, our Shore students partnered to raise school supplies for students in Houston, Texas. Eisenhower had donated food and other things to a local school bank. Arbor students joined in 100,000 thank yous and sent cards to service people overseas. So I draw your attention to it. Read it, please, at your leisure, because our students really are becoming citizens of the world at a very young age. They are becoming cognizant of students as well as students elsewhere in this country, but also families around the world who are in need of their support and their intelligence and capacity. So I thought it was a particularly nice issue for the holiday season. And that concludes my report.
Anyone have questions or comments on the superintendent's report?
With the academies,
Mhm.
if a student elected to take and enroll and found that they were no longer interested, would there be measures for them to
Sure.
sign up to another academy?
They could withdraw,
Withdraw?
Well, to sign up for another academy would be dependent on enrollment and opportunities, but all students are available to take the elective courses that are offered in the district.
That'd be very interesting. You can find out what they like or not, or equally find out what they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be a great
Exactly,
opportunity.
sure.
That's
Sure.
awesome.
And that's the advantage, because the schedules do allow them to explore their own interests, but there's some opportunity for other electives in the program.
I have a follow-up question to the academies. What about students who are already at the high school that have already taken those classes that kind of put them in one of
Want
those?
that on their record?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll look at the classes that students have already taken,
Okay.
and ultimately look at class schedules when it comes to juniors and seniors. Seniors will be difficult,
Right.
but incoming sophomores and incoming juniors, if an incoming junior has the foundation of a freshman and a sophomore year where the classes that are on the grid they have taken, it wouldn't be a stretch for them to be
Right.
counted in an academy.
Mhm.
Seniors are going to be difficult. The problem's going to rest where a student might be an art student and has electives or taking classes in all of the different four performing arts areas. So maybe one in dance and one in drama and one in music. If you're going to be in a theater academy, there's 4 set years. But if somebody has a freshman year and a sophomore year in the theater, and it fits into the grid and their schedule, the rest of their schedule as well,
Then
then we
they
would
can do
definitely
it.
consider it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my question when I read through this was just, can you be in more than one academy? Is there enough time? You can't be a dual academy major, huh?
Yeah, we'll have a tough time fitting in their schedule with the other electives they want to take, never mind getting 2. And we had a question from an 8th grader today like that. It was great.
Good for them. Have any other questions for the superintendent's report? Thank you. Item 8, Personnel and Labor Relations, Mrs. Lopez.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through C be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, as there is no discussion on personnel, can we call the roll?
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes, but abstain from B.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Okay, item 9, approval of minutes, Dr. Nazir.
Be it resolved, the following minute be approved as submitted. Business meeting November 16, 2017. Executive session meeting November 16, 2017.
Second.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the meetings of November 16th, 2017? Okay, seeing no additions or corrections to the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 10, public comments from the floor. Do we have members of the public wishing to make comment from the floor this evening? Seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 11, fiscal planning and operations. Dr. Connors.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through D be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on items A through D? Seeing none, can we call the roll?
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Item 12, policy, Mr. Stern.
Be it resolved. Thank you.
Okay, be it resolved that the following motion as identified as item A be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments on item A?
Pages, let me see.
Seeing none, can we call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 13, curriculum, Dr. Pang.
Be it resolved that the following motion identified as item A be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay. Do you have any questions on, or comments on item A? Other than that, I'm always happy to see the Turtleback Zoo is still in operation, and that our children are still going there.
Go catch the Christmas light show.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right, can we call the roll?
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 14, pupil services, Mr. Johnson.
Be it resolved, the following motions identified as items A and B be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments on items A or B? Seeing none, can we call the roll?
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Item 15, administrative and auxiliary, Mrs. Cherry.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through G be approved as presented.
Do we have questions or comments? Oh, do we have a second? Okay, well, there we go. Questions or comments on items A through G?
Yeah, I have a comment on item E. Can we send a copy to the governor office too?
The,
Copy of the resolution?
yes, how about if everyone is in agreement, where it currently reads, resolved that this resolution be sent to U.S. Representative Frank Pallone, U.S. Senator Robert Menendez, and U.S. Senator Cory Booker. We strike "and" before U.S. Senator Cory Booker, add "and" after the word Booker, and Governor-elect Phil Murphy.
Elect, yeah.
Would it be more appropriate to
I
put
heard
it under
he
the
is-
state legislature?
Yes, it would.
Yeah,
Yes, it
rather
would.
than there.
Okay, let's do it on, so the second to last paragraph there, that copies of this resolution be sent to Governor-elect Phil Murphy, comma, New Jersey State
Yes.
Senator Robert Smith.
I agree with that suggestion. I would also like to state I agree with how you eloquently stated that in your report about this resolution, about what's going on in Washington, how a major piece of legislation is being pushed through with an unbelievable speed before people even know what's in it and what they're voting on. You just get parameters or guidelines or an outline of it. And as it becomes more and more known, then it's less and less people are pleased with it. And it should be taken, I would just like to add that, it should be considered with due diligence if it's such an important piece of legislation that does impact school districts and the entire country. So I wholeheartedly agree with this resolution. I hope our representatives and others sit up and take notice, and somehow we can slow this down before it really impacts us very negatively. It's challenging enough running a school district over the last several years. Funding is not, increasing to a large extent, and it's just anything that's going to negatively impact the kids and their education is just going in the wrong direction. I hope we can change this.
And to build on that, I believe that the New Jersey School Boards Association is encouraging, all school boards to adapt a similar resolution. So basically what it would say is that it would change their representatives and the legislature and so on. So it would have a reach, throughout all of New Jersey. So.
Yes, I should know that we are indebted to the New Jersey School Boards Association and appreciative of their providing us with a sample resolution. This resolution is largely taken from. They've provided, I believe, all other districts in the state with a sample resolution, so I hope that many other districts adopt it. I think, Mr. Stern, your point is well taken. Under the normal course of business, I think we would have had time to add more language of our own in policy committee, particularly addressing how swiftly and how poorly considered this legislation is moving through. Unfortunately, it is so swiftly and poorly considered that if we don't pass a resolution at this meeting, the timeliness of our resolution will be in question, because I believe they're fixing to vote on it in the next day or two. Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments on items A through G? All right, seeing none, can we call the roll?
Mr. Stern?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Mrs. Deepan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Nazir?
Yes.
Dr. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Excellent. Item 16, committee reports. I believe Fiscal Planning and Operations Committee has met.
Right, about a week ago, fiscal committee met and discussed several things, and you just heard tonight the report on the 2016 to 17 audit, so I won't go into that. But there's good news, that also within that, again, on page 84, if you look at that, of that 25 million, of what the, projected capital reserve is that we have a good balance there. And then for the 2018-2019 budget, the preparation is underway and on track. Everyone should be aware that there's a budget schedule, and that David always informs the fiscal plannings as to where we are in that process. And right now, the administrators in all schools are putting together their needs and concerns, and then it'll be rolled up and then presented to the superintendent, in January. And then the School Development Authority, that's that, the Regional Operating District grants, where we, for every dollar we get 40 cents, which is nice, and we've had 11 projects over the last 3 years. And the last one here, the bathroom upgrades are complete in the Patton building, and the first bathroom in the Anthony buildings is expected in June. But there's an awful lot of bathrooms between those two buildings, so it's not just like, they're doing piecemeal, but it's great that the ones in the Susan B. Anthony building, we planned to have them done so they wouldn't interrupt like the basketball and the wrestling, and so that's great. The other thing that came up at our meeting is this will be fantastic if when we get this done, is the school marquees. As you drive around town, you see that the different schools have the marquees out in front. And specifically, though, how antiquated our high school marquee is. It's where you actually have to go out, and change the letters. And so we're in a position, because it's in the budget, to actually do the marquees. So what David was looking for is our committee discussed specifications, like how big, what, whether brick, this and that. And we've asked them to look at other areas, like Alexandra brought up, New Brunswick. If you're ever going down Route 27, there's a nice marquee there for New Brunswick High School, East Brunswick High School. And then also in our own town, but you go by JFK Library. So just imagine how nice it would be as if you're on the new Route 18, and from both directions you can see, on a corner by the tennis courts, a beautiful Piscataway High School marquee that, give us the recognition that we need, and also save us from going out and putting up letter by letter in the future. The other thing is that we're at the end of our solar renewable energy certificates, or they're always a few years behind, and so David is always looking to, when can I get the maximum so we can sell them, working with the consultants. So we're selling another round of they're called SREGs from 2014, 2015. And on transportation, the second of 2 new buses budgeted for this year are ready for pickup, and transportation's reviewing bus routes, long-term bus replacement plan, vehicle maintenance plan, and transportation plans for the non-public students. That's when, they have to put in those BT6s for requests, and we have a plan for that. And last is food services. The business office reported on lunch accounts to us when previously qualified for free use lunches. Our next meeting is actually scheduled for Wednesday, January 10th, but I'm asking David to, we can come up with another date, because that's the conflicts with the Piscataway High School experience. And so we'll be looking to do that at another date, and that's my report.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the fiscal committee?
I got a question. The solar panels that we have on, we have it on, in 2, 3 schools? How many?
6.
6, I'm sorry, wow. And how long were they put in ago? How long ago were they put in? What's their lifespan? And do we have any idea on how much we've saved over the years? It's a lot of.
So there were 2 installments. The first, I believe, was in 08, 09. You
Right.
know, it took several months. And the second installment was in 2013. I don't have a number for you for how much we've saved. As I work with the consultants we have on board now, I'll see if that's something we can determine. There's energy efficiency that we realize, and then there's, of course, the sale of the SREC. So it's a multi-pronged approach. So from what I understand, some of the energy that's generated during peak hours, I think, helps to reduce our purchasing needs of the utilities electric, and then the extra that we generate, we're able to sell. So it's a 2-pronged benefit, but I don't know what was potentially saved over the lifespan. I'll see if that's even something we can recreate going back in time.
Right, and then is there any thought of increasing the number of schools that, if it's 6 to all 10, having solar capability?
So the big boom in solar panel installations was in 08, 09, and at that time, SRECs were about $600 each. That's the value you could get on the market. So there was a big financial incentive. It made sense economically to put them in. That combined with there were initiatives at the state and sometimes county level to have panels put in. So I think that's probably why the district first got involved in 09. And in 2013, we expanded, our solar panel array. The price of SRECs has come down since that peak, and now you're in the kind of 200 range, perhaps low 200s. It's just not as fiscally as prudent to put them in anymore. The payback period for the expected lifespan of solar panels, which could be 20 to 30 years, the payback period just isn't there. So it's just not as popular an option right now, unless more grants and initiatives come back to kind of help subsidize the installation cost.
Yeah, and at that time, remember in 2011, when we were going to do it at all the schools, we're also going to try to do the roofs at the same time, because it didn't make any sense to put solar panels on and then have to take them off and then do the roofs. So there were a lot of considerations at that time and how much money you actually, save. And we actually, remember the referendum didn't pass, we actually didn't do it, we only did a few others. But there's costs associated with putting them, and then, if you have to replace a roof. But good question. I mean, I would think, because it'd be a tough analysis too, we've talked about that, and, because the price of, you get your PSE&G bill, the price of, a kilowatt per hour changes, month by month, and then also your other things change. So you'd have to go back and actually see, how much money you've actually been saving. But, I like to see that myself, but you'd have to ask them to do that.
Yeah, I think electricity rates are fairly low.
Yeah.
These years. I have solar panels on my house, and my impression is, my conversation with the installer basically was that there are no moving parts. The only thing about their life expectancy is if the coating sort of fogs over, it sort of decreases but does not shut down the performance of the panel. But basically, as long as the sun is shining, they will keep on working at some level of efficiency. So they don't. I've had mine for 10 years, and there's never been an issue. I think at that time, 10 years ago, they said that they've had 20-year-old panels still operating at 80% efficiency, and that they're making them better today. So no one really knows what the life expectancy is.
One of the things that drives it, though, is roof replacement, and
Well,
so.
well, actually,
Yeah.
the side, because if you're not having solar panels convert that sun energy into electricity, that sun energy is beating up on your roof and wearing it out faster. So the side of my house where the solar panels are in much better shape than the side of the house where I don't have solar panels. So it extends the life of your roof having them.
Yeah, you know, you look over at Rutgers, it's like, why they were smart doing it the way they did it. They did the parking port areas and they did the, those fields. Because they started putting them on buildings, you'd start running into a lot of building issues.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an issue that at some point down the road, probably another board, this point down the road may be quite a ways away, you know, 5 to 10 years, who knows, but these things do tend to go in cycles, and I think it'll be mostly, the economics will be mostly a function of increased
Energy
power
prices.
usage and increased burden on the grid, and also, you know, the move away from fossil fuels to produce electricity. There's a number of interesting developments taking place there. The move to electric cars is going to increase the demand for electricity. No doubt you've been reading something about cryptocurrency recently, because now everybody's talking about it. Well, it turns out that uses a tremendous amount of power. And if that currency continues to grow at its current rate and grows further in popularity, there will be enormous demands placed on electricity production. So you may see at some point in time the economics coming back into line where it makes a lot more sense to install panels. But right now, as David said, the market for, basically the market was high, everybody built them, and then there was excess power and the market collapsed, and that was the sort of end of the story.
But just aside too, on renewable energy, and they're gonna, recently, so I was at Colgate, at the Technology Center for the longest time, and a friend of mine, we got tickets to a Rutgers game, but he pulled up in front of my house. He pulled up in his Ford hybrid, and it wasn't making any noise. And I was like, well, what's going on here? And he pulls up, and it turns out that a few people over at Colgate actually got these electric cars, so they convinced the leadership over there that Colgate has ports over there now. So they're encouraging a lot of their employees to actually get these electrical cars and build these electrical ports. So who knows, where the future's going to go. But
And as panel technology improves, and the ability to store the power generated, I think you'll see a lot more movement in that direction. It should be an interesting next 10 years.